The Spoken Token is a proud member of the Pod Studio One podcast network.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the big show. I am Larry Neal.
And I am Alex Wallace.
And we are the Spoken Token Podcast.
Yeah, we are recording live from a very special location.
One of our favorite places.
Well, I mean, it's fairly new to me, but it is a part of Larry's everyday life. And Larry, why don't you tell the people where we're recording live from?
Yes, we are recording live from Game Point, a board game store. So we know we have Game Point, the board game cafe. Well, this is the board game store. If you are near Nashville or native to Nashville or visiting, we're at 1804 21st Avenue South. And this is, of course, a board game store.
It's a store with board games. I'm in love.
Yes.
I'm in love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Rick let us come in. Mr. Rick Cooler, who, of course, is the owner and proprietor of the cafe as well. He was so gracious to let us come in and record right here on the floor.
For real, it's like we're legitimate board game people. I know we're not. I know that we're pretending, and I mean we've been pretending. We've been pretending this whole time.
Don't tell him that.
But yes, like it's poetic. That's what this is. Just to sit around. Like this is why we need. I mean, the one. I know I said I would film us at some point. But this is the backdrop we would have needed.
Can't believe you brought that up.
But you know what? This is why I didn't film us, because we weren't at a board game store. So it has nothing to do with me just not doing it. It has everything to do with setting. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So I was going to ask you, how are you doing? But I think we already know.
Oh, actually, no, I haven't said anything about how I'm doing.
Well, you seem so excited. I figured you were doing quite fine.
Oh no, I'm miserable, horrible, living in.
Oh,
no, I'm
well,
just.
You
I'm
should
just
talk to us about that.
No. This is not a therapy podcast. Let me unpack my issues. No, actually,
go too far with the comedy,
actually, I'm doing super well.
Very good.
I actually just recently, as of yesterday, kind of rejoined the board game arena world. I took a little bit of a sabbatical, if you will, and I was shocked.
It's fantastic
by how much content is on that platform.
Love it.
And I mean, and for the price, half of a normal designer game, you get an entire year. And this is not we're not sponsored by BGA at all or anything, but I'm just saying, guys, if you know,
we would take a sponsorship from them though.
Yeah, come on. But the one caveat is like you can't play by yourself. Like, unless the game has a solo module.
Right. I was going to say solo modules you can, but
yes. But mostly you're going to have to, be social, find some friends, and then.
Right. But I mean, and that's so wonderful. Like some good friends of mine and ours of yours too, that moved, Chris and Devin, Cat House Gaming, they moved across the country literally. They left Tennessee and went out to Washington State. That's how I've been able to game with them on a regular basis, because we would get together as much as we could. It was probably more on me for not getting together when they were here, and I sure was sad when they left. But it's been so good being able to reach out. And again, these aren't electronic versions of board games. It's the game.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about the service is that it says, okay, hey, we're going to do everything we can to recreate the board game gathering just over a greater distance.
Fantastic.
And so the games are scripted so that they score for you and those kinds of things.
Yep.
But outside of that, I mean, it's not scripted like you would, I can sit and play Wingspan on my Xbox and it does everything for me and then it has AI that runs my opponents. No, it just takes the physical board, puts it on your computer screen, and then says go.
Yep.
And it's just marvelous for that.
It is.
It's marvelous for that.
We're going to make sure we link this in the notes. We've talked about it before. I appreciate you bringing it up again, though, because I love that site. But that's one thing to think of, guys. If you've got gamers, friends across the country or family across the country, you don't have to not board game with them. Hit up BGA, guys.
Yeah, and I mean,
hit up
and
BGA.
I would say this, like, the per monthly price is incredibly reasonable. I think it's less than $5. But then for an entire year's access, it's $25, and then that gives you, like, you and your friends access to the premium content.
All of it, right?
Yeah,
right.
And you don't even have to pay anything. I think. I think you could even do it. There's some things you could just do for free.
Yes,
just to test it out.
Yeah, they do. They do have a pretty large free library. You can sign up for the account for free and then just play the free library. Also, too, I'll mention this about the premium stuff. Like you just alluded to it. If you know someone, if someone starts a premium game, you can join it, whether you have a premium account or not. So if there's a group of you, one of you wants to go premium, the rest of you can pay.
Yeah.
Or play, rather, when that person just has to be the one to start the game. So they're making it literally as easy and as accommodating as possible. Play some games.
And it's one of those things where, for years we were afraid of Asmodee and like, they're going to do the big business stuff. And BGA was just kind of one of those things that was operating like, it's kind of pirate. It's really cool and punk, and then Asmodee bought it. We're like, no! But I will say this: they are treating this with the gamer in mind. Right. This is
and they said pretty quickly. Well, to be fair, they said pretty quickly. Listen, we did buy it. Clearly, we have plans for it, but we'll be honest. Our plans right now are to let it do what it's doing.
Yeah, and they have.
Yep.
And they've done nothing but support it.
Right.
And bring games.
Right.
Like there are
some titles we may not have otherwise seen.
Yeah. And I mean, but like just recently they dropped Earth, so Earth is on there. They've got. Numerous like high quality games, and I was really impressed with. So
agreed.
So that's I'm doing quite well with that. I'm excited. We got to play Dice Hospital with my brother-in-law Josh, and I love Dice Hospital.
I know, right? He hadn't played it.
No, we've played it before, but just we.
I love that game.
We got together last night over BGA, and
that's one of the ones we play quite a bit. If you look up my history, Dice Hospital's on there.
Yeah, it's great. It's wonderful. Very
good. Well, I've been good. I've been coming to work here. I've got an opportunity to fill in some hours here and catch some hours. Being back on the retail end of it again, my board game journey is the circle is not closed, but it's come full circle for one portion. From loving games, playing games, joining a publisher, doing some retail, joining another publisher, publishing some games, and now back to retail again. So, and it's very interesting because right now, I guess I can say the corollary has been the show.
Yeah. At
least for the last 7 years. And so new perspectives. It's been wonderful. It has been fantastic being here. Of course, again, I'm a native from Nashville, so this is all home to me. So that's cool to get an opportunity to spend more time here because other than when I'm seeing my family, I'm not in the city that much anymore because I don't live in Nashville currently. Right. So, but that's been really good. That's been really good for me. The good people at Fido, I'm going to give them a shout out because they are amazing coffee.
Yeah, because your store is connected to Fido.
Yes, I'm connected to Fido. Yes, and of course, like I said, we are a part of Game Point. The Board Game Cafe is in Fido East, and not Fido East, but Bongo East,
right?
Which is the kind of the parent company. So it's one big happy family here in Nashville. Again, if you're here in Nashville and you love board games, you wondering about the scene. Get over to Game Point. Come over to Fido. Come over to this Game Point and see us here. We'll get you hooked up. You will find some people. The scene is hopping. Alex and I are going to dig so much into that here coming up in the next year. So I'm super excited about some of the connections that we've made based on that. But I guess we better get on into the show, please. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into the Spoken Token Podcast. At this time, episode number 117. Come join Alex and Larry as they both take a deeper look into some of their very favorite board games from their own personal collection. Then Larry pivots to discuss some game-changing experiences with one of his very favorite games. We then also share a heartfelt tribute to luminary game designer Klaus Teuber, plus so much more. So, sit back, relax, get out your plans for a trip to your favorite friendly local game store and turn us up as we join your hosts, Alex Wallace and Larry Hill. The Spoken Token honors the memory and the legacy of Klaus Teuber, the venerated designer of the Settlers of Catan. This game holds a rightly honored place in my gaming life, and I believe the lives of those of us in America. Helping to usher in this current age of games from Europe's best designers and the traditions which they have for so long cultivated in board gaming. Prior to Catan's arrival on our shores back in 1996, the hobby games sector was dominated by the likes of large multi-part war games in this country, with the board game mainstream not getting much notice, and consisting of those familiar titles by Hasbro, who had consolidated much of the board game industry of the previous decades by then. Catan whetted the appetite for something more than rolling dice and moving mice, or dudes on a map, in the game club, at school, and in the basements across the country. Settlers provided us with a chance to think and actually participate in the game on the table. It removed the rote memorization of static boards and gave us simple yet ingenious ways to near limitless combinations to play on. We got to settle the island and contend with our neighbors by outthinking them, not by simply buying up the most expensive property first. It kept some elements of chance, but it gave us more opportunities of mitigation than we had had in our titles up to that point. It has earned its spot in so many hearts and minds and is the board game of a generation. But what it represented was not just one property, but a different way of thinking and approaching both design and the play of board games. This is the lasting legacy that we can never simply be quantified with mere words or even numbers. Looking back on the years we have now spent settling Catan and its spinoffs, the new mechanics that have been inspired by the design, and the friends we have made along the way in a hobby that began to really mature after its arrival here in our country, the most appropriate thing we can say is, thank you, Klaus.
And we're back. And I want to take a moment to, as we just listened to Larry so eloquently eulogize someone in our own little way here. I know we are just a small fledgling podcast, but someone who his additions to a very niche hobby have fundamentally altered our lives.
Yeah, this exists.
Yeah, we are here
because of that red box.
Because of Klaus Teuber and his idea, and and as someone who has sat and thought about game ideas, and Larry, I know I can speak for you as well, just walking through and building games, but for him to have this idea and then see it to fruition, and that idea change a world.
Yeah.
I know now. I mean, I don't put it on the same thing as like the internet or the gas-powered car or the conveyor belt or whatever. But for so many,
and huge nonetheless.
Yes, for so many, this red box, this Catan has defined, so many people, and I would say that it. When I talk to people who are new into gaming or have just barely touched their toe, without a doubt, more often than not, Catan comes up. Oh, I've played Catan.
Absolutely.
I've played Catan.
Absolutely.
And even more like than Monopoly, which I think is...
Yeah, that's why I said, a certain generation, that's what they were raised with. And I pump my fist secretly inside and sometimes outside when people come in and they tell me that, and young adults, they're looking for games like, oh, we used to play Catan growing up. And I'm like, that is so wonderful. But I want you to stop and think about something for a minute. So Catan came here in 1996. That's when it hit the shores, okay? Now, this is a functioning, working board game store. So, of course, we have the new hotness and we have all the normal titles. I can't give you the exact numbers, but I can tell you just from being here myself, obviously, and putting out stock and then selling stock and talking about stuff, it is still one of the most consistent sellers we have. This game came out in 1996. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
That's the testament to it. So many people come in that are either they played it when they were young and they don't have a copy. They played it and their copies are short and they need another one. Or they're getting someone into it. And they're like, do you have Catan? When we get it, he normally buys it in a case. We're a smaller shop physically. So it's rare that we buy a case of anything. Catan is one of the ones that he buys a case of. And what I have on the shelves is all this. We had 2 boxes on the shelf. I had stock last week. So Settlers of Catan, the original, is still moving like that. That's a testament to it. It's not necessarily a commercial for it, but that's such a good game.
Well, and I would say one of the reasons it is so ubiquitous in the hobby is that it has simple mechanics.
Yep.
But as you said earlier, it has infinite combinations, and it allows for dumb luck as well as deep strategy.
Yes.
But I think the secret sauce is that it says trade. So the trade mechanic makes the game become infinitely social. And then, you could have like, oh, I hate Catan because nobody will ever trade for me. Or like, oh, it's so much fun because you get to wheel and deal and, and all of that. And which Monopoly encourages that to an extent. But Catan, like, relies on it.
That's its purpose.
Yeah, and I think that is the master stroke.
It is.
And that's why it stood the test of time.
It has, yeah. And it hit at a perfect time. I mean, like I said, Hasbro had consolidated everything, Parker Brothers and all those guys. And so all of that stuff was what it was. It was roll your dice, move your mice, not detrimental. It is what it is. Monopoly is the foundational game of my generation, and it is. Regardless of what I think of it or say of it, none of that changes the fact that was, when you said board games when I was coming up, you were talking Monopoly. Sure, we played Sorry and Payday and Life and all those, but it was Monopoly. That was the one. That was the game of my generation. Catan is the game of the generation from the time it hit here moving forward. Once it hit. Plus, Catan helped catapult, as they call them now, I guess, hobby board gaming, the niche, this store, into the mainstream. The reason why you started seeing board games in the backdrops of shows and on movies and why people talked about it was not because they were getting paid so much money. The board game industry, the publishers are not paying that money for that. That's because the real people that film those, the real stars that star in those, were playing these games and loved them too. And why not, right? Character, you're going to be in your own room and your hobby stuff will be around. And if you're like, why wouldn't you be like, well, put my Catan set in the background. That's the reason why, is because this was a part of people's lives from the top down, and they just did what everybody wants to do. They brought it with them. Mm-hmm. I'll bring it to work. Can I bring it to work? It's bring it to work day. And so that's why you started seeing it. It kind of got inserted into the mainstream media or into the consciousness because it was already there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's again the red box, which is just an amazing testament to the game. And we have a couple other titles here. If you've not played it, don't feel bad. It's possible. If you don't like it, obviously don't feel bad either. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Obviously Settlers, which is the base. Then you got Seafarers. This is the route we took. We took Seafarers. We played Seafarers, which lets you explore, makes the map a little bigger. You turn those little islands upside down. That's really cool. If you like to explore, you got to go out to them to see what the island is. And then the granddaddy for us, Cities and Nights. Oh.
Cities and Nights.
So good. We call it Catan for adults.
But
so good.
Exactly, and I think that's where any great IP and or product is that you hook them with a wonderful concept and done well, and then you take that with a great base. Then you can add other things, and I think Cities and Nights does. It says, hey, listen, you're gonna have the normal person's gonna have fun playing regular Catan. That's going to be your hey, instead of Monopoly, let's play Catan, and everyone's going to be I can get into that.
Yep.
But then you're going to get your hey, I want something more.
Dig into something.
And then Cities and Nights just does that so well.
It does. It's what it is. It's he started the thought with Catan, but he clearly had more to it. And because of just the realities of production around the world and products around the world, we got a snippet of it. And then he expanded on his thought with Seafarers, and then he expanded on it more with Cities and Nights. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't realize, I shock people with this every time they ask about it. He then further expanded on it with Starfarers. Mm-hmm. Starfarers of Catan is not new.
Yeah,
it came over here with the original Catan back in '96. They did a very short print run because Catan blew up.
Yeah.
And they made a smart business decision. Hey, let's concentrate on Catan. So we were having to get German editions. Yep. Or spend a ton of money to get Starfarers. And so they bring Starfarers back, and it's like a time capsule. Because people would think, oh, this is a brand new. No, it's not a brand new. But it's so good. It's my favorite way to play it.
Yeah, same here. Same. 100% mine, too. But you touched on something a second ago that I think is a testament to a great designer. And also it's in stark contrast to what we see today, is that he had a great idea, but he had the patience to let me get my idea out there, and so that people can get it.
Yep.
So base Catan, you get it, you love it. Then it's like, okay, now that you've enjoyed that, I'm going to give you this next level that was already there. But what you see today with these new designers who are going straight to Kickstarter with and self-publishing and all this. They're like, every idea I've ever had, I'm putting into this one box. And I know for me as a gamer, I get completely overwhelmed, and I'm like, where do I start?
Yep.
And then I lose interest because I started and I had 7,000 modules, and I'm like, well, I played this module and I didn't like it. I don't have the attention span to go to module 12 or module 15 or expansion 4, whatever.
That's good.
But it was like, here is the really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Play it. Play it.
Yep.
Now, and then he was lucky, and I do understand some designers are like, I'm self-publishers now. I'm going to get one shot. Let me throw everything at the wall,
You'd be surprised.
So,
I mean, I can absolutely confirm that even on the professional level, at least at certain levels of publishing, board game publishing companies, no, that's how they're operating too. Let's pick the best, let's pick the brightest, put your best foot forward, because the sequel, the expansion, they're not guaranteed. Put your best foot forward. And again, like I said, the places where I've been, the publishing companies that I've worked for, that's a thing. That's even for them. Maybe, some of the publishing companies aren't functioning like that, but where I've been, for sure, that's
I would
still a
say,
thing.
but
there's more
self-publisher.
Well, I was going to say, and there's a little bit more restraint, because when you have had success as a publisher, then you do kind of understand it's formulaic, and you've got a formula that you do need to follow, not in a negative connotation, but that you just understand, look, this is what it takes to get this done. Mm-hmm. When you're self-publishing, when you haven't done that, that piece is missing the first time you do it. Now, you should hopefully be picking up, and we look no further than Stonemeyer Games to say where you absolutely can pick up when you first start off yourself and like, wait a minute, there's certain things I need to be doing and certain things I don't need to be doing. And you're right, though. A lot of times, some of the self-publishers don't. But also, too, now there's so many self-publishers. That's the other thing, too. Yeah. It's like that guy who you liked his game, you may get his second game. He's probably working on it. But in the meantime, you bought 4 other projects that were also from first-time publishers.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why, like you said, we can get that. And that's a lesson to be learned. That's a very, very, very good topic. I like it a lot.
But yeah, so going back to Klaus, I'm personally grateful for what he's done. And again, I can't imagine he thought that he would have the impact that he did. You look at I look at Klaus Teuber with Settlers of Catan, then I look at Alan Moon with Ticket to Ride. And then at that point, it's just like, with those two properties, and those two properties within 5 years of each other.
Yeah.
So you have Settlers of Catan and Ticket to Ride. But what people, I think people in our hobby can get a little elitist, and and they look at Settlers, or they look at Ticket to Ride, and they just kind of turn their nose to it. But do you realize they're still perennial? They're still
evergreen.
Evergreen. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah,
perennial.
both of them.
But I mean, and they're the number one sellers of all time.
Yeah.
Throw Mattel's, Life Monopoly. I'm not saying that. We're saying hobby gaming.
Right.
In hobby gaming, but what they've done is simple concepts.
Yeah.
Simple concepts with all the things that you say. With deep strategy.
Yeah. Yeah. They are fantastic.
I think that was my watch speaking. I think she was telling me to be quiet.
Oh. Okay.
So maybe that's my watch's way of saying, hey, we should wrap this up.
Yeah, let's maybe play the bump music, I guess, and while Alex silences his watch. And we are back. So we want to go, Mr. Alex, let's take a deeper look.
Ooh, it's been a while since we've done this.
It is. And what we do, just for those of you who maybe don't remember, or if you're new to joining us, we like to pick a game. Each of us will pick a different game, and we do a little bit of a deeper dive into the title. So this is not a review of ours. It's not on the table, but we're going to speak to the mechanics of the game, why we like it, why we're excited about it. And then if there's any challenges with obtaining it or where we got it, then we'll cover that as well, because these won't necessarily be new titles. We're just picking stuff out of our collection and just spending a little bit of time with one of our babies. That's just how this works. So we're going to go with Mr. Alex first.
Well, it's interesting. So last episode, we had a brief conversation about Grail games. And so I talked about how I had acquired one of my Grail games, and It was GKR Heavy Hitters, and then I alluded to my other Grail game, which was World of Warcraft, the board game. And I kid you not, within 24 hours of us recording that, I just was like, I'm going to see if anybody on BGG is willing to trade. So, and again, I've asked a couple of times before, and everyone's just like, do you realize what I have? I have this game that no one can find. And so, they want some astronomical sum. And so, but I just reached out to this guy. I was like, hey, I see you want these 2 titles. And I'm like, I've got them. And would you be interested to trading your World of Warcraft? And he's like, sure. And at that point, I was like, I'm sorry. Are you? Well, I'm like shaking as I'm typing, and I'm like, okay, great.
I so believe you and can so see that.
Yes, like great, so wonderful. Okay, and within a week, we made a trade for things that I just wasn't playing, and
same with him.
And there it was sitting in front of me. This game that has it's almost been like a unicorn for 6 years, and then I was like, I was just, and as you know, for those who've been with us for a while,
he's still speechless. Listen to him.
I know. Well, I'm a completionist to an extent, and I'm started looking up the expansions.
I told you about that.
I know.
I told you.
And so they were like,
I warned him, ladies and gentlemen.
They were, multiple hundreds of dollars, and so I was just like, let me do a search, and I found a comic book store that had one of the expansions for the price of a normal board game, like not even like one of the big board games, like, hey, like you're going to Target and you pick up a copy of Catan type of board game, and I'm like, yes, please. And so, and it's there, and it's about to be played at my house this weekend, and I can't tell you how excited I am about it. Excuse me.
Did I miss that invitation? I have to check my inbox.
You live like 2.5 hours away.
Let's check out the inbox.
I
don't think I got that.
I tell you what, we are starting at 4:30, and we are going to play till it's done. So probably about 10 or 11, because we're going to play a four to 6 player game. So that is up to you, my man.
Y'all live stream that. I'll check y'all out from the house.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But what I wanted to do, so again, obviously it's incredibly difficult to find, and you just have to kind of luck into it, or be persistent. And I think that's really kind of where I went. And again, persistent and know your limits. Persistence with limits, because we've talked about that before.
Yes, we have.
But the reason, a couple of things I want to mention about World of Warcraft, the board game, is it's by Christian T. Peterson, who has a wonderful I say discography, but what did you say?
Ludology.
Ludology.
Christian Peterson is Fantasy Flight Games. Christian Peterson is Twilight Imperium.
Yes. Yeah.
We have said enough.
Yeah.
This is the mic dropping.
Oh, well, please don't, because that's an expensive microphone.
I know, right?
Yeah. So I mean, this guy is prolific. He's done some of the cornerstone games of the hobby, but World of Warcraft is his. I mean, it's just an expansive game, and one of the reasons that I am so excited about this game is we have so many dungeon crawler games that are built on a story arc, a narrative arc. You play scenarios, you go to your things. I mean, you think Gloomhaven, it's got a branching narrative. You think Sword and Sorcery, it's got a through line narrative. You think Descent, again, it has a narrative arc. World of Warcraft is built on a system in which you level up a character. They get stronger as they go, but the main crux of the game are quests. So you have 30 turns. Each side, so you play Horde and Alliance. Each side gets one turn, and they alternate turns, and they only get 15 turns before the game is finished. And then in the 30th turn, you either fight the opponent or you go and you fight the big world boss. And so it's just fast. But what is so great, it encapsulates the MMO World of Warcraft by this idea of like you're working together to finish quests or go in PvP combat. But it's all about the questing. It's going on the adventure, finding the monster, and suiting yourself up so that you can properly deal with them. I mean, the combat system is representative of the magic and the distance, and then the up close fighting. So there's dice rolling, but I think what draws me to this game is that I can go on an adventure in one sitting. I don't have to pack it up
Right.
and come back to it and say, oh, what's going to happen next? No, my narrative arc happens from the time I sit down to the time I get up. And so that's my deeper dive, my deeper look. So the World of Warcraft board game, I will probably share with you my post-play on our next episode. But Larry, what are you going to talk about today?
I am going to talk about a title that I got off of Kickstarter. It was crowdfunding. I want to try to start using that term because there are many platforms, but this one specifically was Kickstarter, and it was this publisher's or designer's first foray into the game, and it's called Star Eater, and it was designed by Jason Abrahams. 5 Volt is his nickname, so you may see him somewhere as that. And just to kind of cover it a little bit of the just go by some of the information here to get it out in front of you. You can obtain it currently at his website, which is stareater.com, star-eater.com. This is based out of Australia, so there are going to be 3 prices there. You're going to have Australian dollars, US dollars, and then in euros. And it's a game for 2 to 4 players from ages 12 and up. Has a running time of 45 minutes per player. And like I alluded to already, in terms of me getting it, I got it through Kickstarter, but you can buy it from him. Note, those of you not in Australia, in both, of course, the EU and the rest of the world, the United States and other areas, you're going to have to get it from Australia. So shipping may be a little bit prohibitive. Understand that may be a bit of a challenge. Just want to put that out there. This is a new title. I just got it. And it is definitely worth it. I want to dig into it a little bit. Mechanically speaking, at its heart, Star Eater is a game where basically each player is a captain of a capital class starship. And this is lore based in the world that he designed. So it's not an IP game or anything like that. And you win simply by destroying another capital ship. So like I said, it'll play up to 2 to 4 players. So you can play on teams or you can play free for all. When a starship is destroyed in a multiplayer game, the person who destroyed it wins. That's the bottom line. So that's the simple part about it. The uniqueness of this game, though, starts even when you set it up, because each faction has at their own disposal certain equipment and corvettes, which we'll get to later, which are smaller ships, not fighters, but smaller ships in the capital ship. And that's what you have to build your ship from. But you do have the ability to do that. It's not just a rote set thing. When you grab a ship, you pick a faction, you'll get their deck of cards. You have to pick a piece of equipment for each slot on your ship from this deck of cards that has more things in it than you need for one game. But you get to build it the way that you want within your faction. And one of the things that I like about this is when a designer sets out to give you an experience, and they put something like this in front of you, and they say, listen, this is a faction, this is what they can pick from. And then over here, this is a different faction, and this is what they can pick from. I'm not going to get into it a lot here, but I do want to mention it. Just a personal pet peeve of mine where gamers, both more electronic than board gamers, but board gamers will do it if you let them, where they like to go straight to the min-max. So they look at all the factions and they think, you know what would be best if I could do this from that faction, and that from this faction, and that from this faction. And it's okay that you want to do that, and okay that you like to do that. What bugs me, though, is when you can't, because whether it's a video game and it's been programmed in, or it really doesn't work on a board game, that you go and then you turn on the designer. I'm like, this is a terrible design because I can't min-max or something. That's why I don't want to get into that right there. That's a rant for another time. But I do love the fact that these are different. You got some build stuff. It's like a dream for me. You get to sit there. This is my capital ship. What's your main weapon? What's your corvette? What's your point defense system? What are your broadsides? You got port and starboard broadside weapons. So you get to pick all of those and you get to build your ship. That alone already kind of says, okay, it's a little different. This is a little different. This is kind of cool. But then again, like I said, you've got corvettes, which also do different things. So they in and of themselves do different things. And again, these are smaller ships. Corvettes, think the Millennium Falcon, think a freighter, as opposed to a Star Destroyer. A Star Destroyer could have, for a Star Wars realm, a Star Destroyer could have many Millennium Falcons in it, but say it has 4 of them, specifically outfitted to do war. So that's what your corvettes are. There are going to be some rules for all of your weapons fired through the arcs. So like I said, forward, rearward, port, and starboard. So that's right and left. You've got both beam and missile, as well as some torpedoes that track. And a system is also in place to manage both your hull armor and the interior structure of the capital ship. That's how you lose. You armor first. Once a place of armor is completely devoid of armor, if you take more damage there, it goes into your points. That's what brings your life points down. And so that's one of the ways. Well, that is the way that you lose the game. But on top of all of that, the corvettes and the projectile weapons and all of that, the capital ships behave just like science says they should. They got inertia. You have to deal with inertia. So it's got a really elegant and cool and simple little system. When you place a order to move your ship in a direction that goes on a track 1 through 6, right? So let's say you tell it to go straight ahead twice. You put that in the 1. The next turn, when it's time for you, and I'll go through the turn order here in a minute. When you pick another move, let's say you want to turn to the right. Well, the first thing that you do is turn to the right, but then you still have to move forward because that was your inertia. And you've got 6 of those. So as you're going through and planning your moves, each turn, and I'll go through the phases, each phase you have to do the move. So the ships are still moving the way you're turning. You can cancel moves out by doing a separate move. That's how you get them off the track. So if you no longer want to turn right, just when it's your turn, you'll pick a left, and then that'll take it off the track. Then you'll do everything less than it. So maybe you're stopping and turning or something. But that's how you maneuver the ships. And while I know it seems like a lot, but because the system is managing that, all you have to do is just when it's time to do it, look at your track, follow the things. So you get to sit there and plan. It gives you time. It's happening in real time, but it's laid out, and it's such an elegant design where you can manage it. You can think, wait a minute, and you can sit there and look at the board, turn the ship, turn to right, turn right. And there's so many moments where you can have those pocket moments where you just need it to fit in the pocket, and you can program that. And when it's time to do it, you're looking like, and something that you will love, my friend, all of the phases, I'm going to go over the phases now, they're simultaneous.
I love that.
Yeah, there is no you go, I go, we go. No, it's all simultaneous, and then you resolve it as you go. Let me go over the turn order, the structure right quick. The phases. That's called a commitment phase, which is where your engine card, which is a unique card. It's a little cardboard card with a wheel on it, and you turn it to reveal the thing you want to do, and then we place them face down. And then when it's time, we all flip them over, and then you put that marker on your thing. Then you go to the movement phase together. The movement phase is where each player reveals their engine card and conducts the movement of the capital ship and any launched corvettes, including any previously fired projectiles. Those have their separate rules. It's not difficult. They move forward. Torpedoes have a limited track. When they're moving forward, they look 2 spaces to the left or to the right. If there's a ship there, they'll turn towards it. That's it. That never changes. That's in the rules. Then the action phase. The action phase is where the players reveal your command cards. On your turn, you're going to do when you start on the commitment phase, there's 3 things that you do. You set your engine card, and then you have a deck of command cards to let you do things. You pick 2 of them. You put them face down, and they resolve in order from left to right. You all flip over the left one first. You do the order, then you flip over the right one, and you do whatever that order is. That includes launching your ships, doing the special powers that are unique to each faction. So repair if you need to, and some other things that you need to do. And then finally, in the cooldown phase, all the players process the cooldown of their previously played command cards, which once you play a command card, and it's only 8 of them, once you play one, you put it on the track. There's a piece of cardboard with a number, counting down from 5 down to 0. The card itself tells you where to place it on the track. So when you play it, and depending on how powerful it is, maybe it tells you to put it in the 3 spot, or maybe it tells you to put it in the 2 spot. Or during the cooldown phase, you move everything to the left, 1. When it gets to 0, you can put it back in your hand. That's because this is a capital ship, son, and that gun's big enough to blow a moon up. You can't shoot it like it's a machine gun. It's going to take a minute. But I love that. Again, it manages everything. It put everything in a nice little system. There are some really, really cool elements in this game that help all 3 of these phases sing along. And so,
as complicated as you make it seem, looking at the layout,
super
and
simple.
There's not a lot going on.
That's the reason why I got into it. I was about to get the reason why I got it. I came into it late on the Kickstarter. I was still wandering on Kickstarter. I'm reformed now. I don't wander on Kickstarter no more. But I read what he was doing, and you know me. I love Starship Combat and Capital Ship Combat, and there hadn't been a system that had done it. And of course, these big AAA productions and other things were out there, and there's some good ones out there. But I read this from this guy, just this one guy in Australia. But I'm reading what he had planned, and I'm like, this is brilliant, because one of the things you can do, you can turn the facing of your ship, of course, but it's still moving in the other direction, which is, as far as we honestly know in science, that's the way it works. So I thought, wait, this is brilliant. The board's not ginormous. It's got a small board. I can show. Alex hasn't seen it before now, so I'll show it to him later. The box is here with us, but I'll show it to him later. But the box, and he said that's on purpose. Getting outside the area, when you bump up against the area, you take damage. So there is no floating off the map. You're going to take damage and you're going to get reset. So, but you get to turn and maneuver and do all these amazing, amazing, wonderful things. And it is engaging. And I know it is sounding probably really involved. And that's why I did it this way, because I wanted to give a deeper look into the rules. But I'm glad you said that. I was going to say, because I've got to assure everybody, it is not that difficult. And I'm going to jump right to my conclusion, which is, listen, the team play of this one, the excellently produced cardboard pieces, the minis have, which Alex will see those in a minute, they came with the little buttons, with the little knob at the top and the little plastic that you put in it, because you need to be able to rotate the ships. So when you're playing the game, you can put your hand on that little plastic knob and rotate your ship so that it fits just like it needs to. It's a small little thing. When you first see it in the box, you're thinking, what the heck is that? But when you see it in practice, it's like, this is ridiculously good. It allows you to be precise like you need to be, which is amazing. You've got that. You've got the art. The art is nice. I like the art. All of this stuff just makes a system that's got enough depth where I can see using this for the de facto space combat for other types of game systems.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. That's the kicker for me. When I see that and it just sings that, you don't even have to change it. It's like I'm not trying to theme it for something. Starfinder, or we're playing a TTRPG. That's kind of what I'm thinking. You just, when it's time to go to Starship Combat, boom, bust out Star Eater. It's in-depth enough, but it's quick enough in terms of what you're actually doing where you're not going to be so bogged down that it's a true simulation. And so that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's much more richer than just move to X and throw a handful of dice and then just hope for the best. You're not doing that. But this game, what it did in its Kickstarter, it promised a very unique system that can deliver on all of these fronts. It will give you an opportunity for people like me to have our imaginations fired up and give you hours and hours of tactical fun. And so far, it has delivered. I was so thrilled when I got it. The Kickstarter was, I do want to say this, Kickstarter was run well. Jason was fantastic. He had some hiccups. It wasn't perfect, but he communicated. He kept it out as much as he could. The things that were out of his control, he said that, but he kept everybody involved. Again, having it produced and sent to Australia, I think there were some differences in shipping. I think one of the shipments was going somewhere like a big, and he had to reroute it, I think, even to. Some people canceled because it was so much to ship, and he was like, cool, we'll do what we need to do, get your money back. I understand it. He has been just a delight. So it has been wonderful that it was run well. Again, not perfect. There were awards, but he talked about it and did what he needed to do. So we're definitely going to get this on the table. I do want to play this with Alex. I can't wait to see his gameplay because I already know what he's going to do, and I can't wait to see how that happens in the system.
I'm going to go in a circle.
I can't wait.
Go in a circle.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Captain Swirly.
And again, that is Star Eater, of course, designed by Jason 5 Volt Abrahams. And that is it for my deeper look. Shall we move on?
I think your look was deeper than mine.
Just different. It was still deep.
And we are back.
I don't know why I did the Tony the Tiger right there.
They're
great.
Well, I think that's kind of what I was doing with my voice there.
Yeah, that's what made me think it. I was like, Tony the Tiger.
Yeah.
But we are back.
We're right back.
What we doing?
Well.
What are we doing?
Okay, that's a great question. I don't know. So we started a conversation a while back. Just, I mean, again, contrary to what people think, Larry and I actually talk about board gaming outside of the podcast. Just because
the best stuff is probably outside.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I
probably shouldn't have said that.
We were having a conversation, and Larry just like I think we were just talking on the phone. He goes, Alex, listen, did you know that me and my Sibs, we were playing Cargo Noir wrong? We were playing it wrong, and then when we played it right, nobody liked it. That's just how I vision he sounded like. Probably not accurate. But
you're not supposed to laugh at bad impressions of yourself. But dadgummit, that was hilarious.
So we started having the conversation like, okay, well, what did you do? He goes, well, we got one simple rule wrong.
Oh.
And then that bred the conversation of we wanted to start a new segment called Game Changer. Oh, you see what we did there? All right, so it's where we talk about moments when we discover a game-changing rule or play element to a long-played board game and how that affected us. So this could be anything from an aha moment to, oh my goodness, you can do that. And then it opens up a whole wealth of possibilities. Or it could be something in the effect of, oh, we missed that, and now no one likes this game. Not to allude to what Larry might be talking about, but... So Larry, tell us how... And
my goodness,
how this came about. What and like I'm interested to know what were you doing, and then what are the actual rules?
I'm so glad you asked. that way, because that's exactly what I have prepared tonight to share with everyone. So the game is Cargo Noir, designed by Sergei Leggett and, of course, published by Days of Wonder. And yes, my siblings and I, if you've listened to us, and if you haven't, we love to play this one every year. At least once we play it at Christmas time. They love it. It's a hobby-level board game that those who don't like to play as many hobby-level board games like. It's one we could all agree on. And so from that reason, it has a special place in my heart. It is a very well-worn copy, and we have played it quite a bit. But this is what we found out. So, and I'll just go down through here. I got some notes. I wrote it down because I wanted to be sure about it, and then Alex and I'll maybe talk a little bit more about it. So we mostly played by the rules, but the main deviation came from some ambiguity that we had about one key aspect of the game, which is vying for control of the various ports through bidding on them. This is from the rulebook. I'm going to quote this from the rulebook about ports, and it's a bit, so just bear with me. The ports. For each of his ships placed atop a stack of coins in a port, the player either 1, purchases all of the cargo in this port if his stack of coins is the only one remaining there. The coins spent to acquire this cargo go into the common pile of money. The now empty warehouses in the port are immediately refilled with new cargo tokens drawn from the bag. If the bag runs empty, reshuffle all the cargo tokens discarded in phase 2 of prior turns back into the bag. Or he was outbid by a competitor whose ship is in this port atop a larger stack of coins. In this case, the player must either keep his ship there for another turn by adding coins to his stack and make it larger than anyone else's in this port, or you can abandon this port's cargo to the competition by removing your ship and taking your coins back into your safe. Important. By doing so, the player forfeits any chance to get the cargo this turn unless other players keep the competition alive for another turn. You are not allowed to send your ships back to this port when redeploying your ships during phase 3 of this turn, although you may do so in later turns. So it reads straightforward.
How did you miss any of that?
I know, right? And it is. It reads pretty straightforward, and it seems pretty clear-cut. And we ran with it mostly, but when somebody would make their stack of coins bigger, the way we played it, just kind of over the first few plays, morphed into it triggered a response right then and there. So it's like, can you make it bigger or not? So out of turn order, somebody was either making it bigger or withdrawing their ship and pulling their coins back. And there's all kind of reasons why that's wrong. But that's how we were doing it. So it's not anywhere in the rules. But it allowed for more of the rhythm to the game. It felt right. It felt right. This is a rhythm changer. The way this should be done, the rest of the game has a certain flow to it. It's like, say, the rest of the game is in 4/4 time, and this is in like 2/4 time. It's like it's off. It's like this one beat is off. But it is the way it was designed. And I have to admit, it always bothered me personally, as I knew it wasn't elegant or right. I knew it didn't fit, but we were having so much fun with the game otherwise, so we just played with it. So reading the rules on the timing of the turns, we see the initial cause for confusion. I'm going to read some rules again. This section is not as long. Each player's turn is usually composed of 3 distinct phases, all accomplished in order before the next player takes their turn. The 3 phases are: 1, resolve your ship's actions; 2, trade cargo for victory cards and discard excess cargo if need be; and 3, send your ships out to new destinations. That first one is resolve ship's actions. That's what we're talking about, because your ship is out there and that's one of its actions. Right? You're going to get the port or you're going to bring it back. And that, like I said, the way we played it, Alex went to a port. Let's say I started it, because this was a key. You had to be the one that started. Let's say I started it and I went on a port when it was time for us to place my ships out, and I put my stack of coins out there. And that was the other thing we were doing. We weren't finishing the turns. Mm-hmm. We were breaking them up.
Okay.
We were placing a turn, everybody placed.
Yeah.
Then we went to the second, we went to the third. That was another thing that we found that we messed up. But the way we would play it, so I would place, and then Alex had a chance to place, and then everybody around the table. Then we would go to phase 2. And then if there was some differences, hey, you put 4 coins there. Immediately, as soon as you did that, though, during your turn, quote unquote, I had the chance to be like, okay, I'll make mine 5. Or if not, I was pulling mine back then, because that's what you do. You pull it back if you withdraw. And that's just not the way the game is supposed to be played. And trust me, people, you're probably screaming, particularly if you're somehow connected or if Sergei Leggett somehow is listening. I get it. We were playing it wrong. We were having so much fun. But that is not the way this game should be played. So fast forward. No more reading of the rules. Fast forward to this past season. We pull it out. We had played Bonanza. And there's something else I can't remember that I had taught them. And I don't know, man. I had a bug up my butt. I was just, look here. We're going to play these games right. We're going to play them right. Let's play them right. So it came out, and I said, okay, you know what? This part of it has always bugged me. So let me read it. I saw a couple of things immediately. These are the pieces that I wrote down. I was like, wait a minute. Each player can pose a 3. You're supposed to be finishing your whole turn before you move to the next person. The looks around the table was like, what'd you just say?
Say what now?
And then, of course, the other part. I'm like, well, wait a minute. And this is what it does. This is what the rule actually does. You can lock somebody up, but at most only for a turn or two. Right. It doesn't make sense for you to do it at that point. You need to use your resources to go other places. So when somebody goes to a place, basically, unless you right then and there have twice as many coins as they do, they got it. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's really the way it's played. That's because it doesn't make sense for you to try to tie somebody up. Because like I said, if your money's tied up there, because coins they're finite. And if your money's tied up trying to outbid somebody, then you're not getting stuff for the other places. You're not using those coins and those goods that you're getting from those ports to buy point cards to win. So you're not winning. So it doesn't make sense for you to sit there and keep escalating somebody. I'm going to keep escalating you, and then I'm going to tie you up, and then I'm going to pull back at the last minute and make you spend all your money. No, you've missed out on the game too, because that's all you could probably do because of the way the economy actually works. So that's why it feels so off, because the rest of the game is so fun and it flows. But that piece, it doesn't make sense to do it. It's like when you place your ship, just don't go where anybody else is. It doesn't make sense to go where somebody else is. It makes more sense to try to avoid them. And it's like, that can't be right, because that's always been the most fun. All the smack we talk when I'm coming to your port to take your cigarettes. Terrible example, but yes, you get it. When I'm coming to your port to take your antique cards from you, we'll use that one instead. And so that was the thing. So, but we played it correctly. We read the rules, we played it correctly, and yeah, dude. Every one of them was like, I'm out. Oh, bro, you could hear a pin drop. And it was like just forced. I was at my sister's house. She was trying to flip her own table. She was like, oh, I hate this now. I don't ever want to see this again. My nephew was like, even if we played the way we used to play it, I don't think I ever want to see this game again. And I'm sitting there going like, wait, no, we got like 10 years to play what? And then I'm looking at my older sister thinking, she's going to be my savior. And she's like, yeah, this was awful. I don't ever want to. Oh, no. What have I done? But it is the right way to play it. So unfortunately, it was a game changer in such a sad way. Oh. I'm so sad about it. Oh. The reality is, at the end of the day, you're here to have fun. And playing it correctly after our previous efforts to play it simply was not fun. So I'm making a declaration, because I had already started years ago when we first started playing it on trying to do some expansion stuff. I was going to homebrew one. It was one of my early design projects. So I'm not trying to fix it. I'm definitely not going to be so presumptive to say that. But I'm going to see if I can't meld the way that we played it to make it make sense. Because the way we were playing it destroys the original intent of the game. And I'm not okay with that. Okay. I am not. Regardless of how it feels, I don't think that's cool. It's like, what's the point? Why are you doing that? But I am going to do my best. And if I can work it out and can get the Sibs to play it again, I'll let you know. Meanwhile, you have a date with it, played the normal way, never played it the wrong way. We probably need to play it again. I need to play it with gamers the right way. And see, because I could be totally off. I'm totally accepting that. Y'all may be like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think that rhythm that I'm like, that's the weirdest rhythm piece. I could be crazy. So I definitely want to play with some other gamers and then just be like, what do y'all think? Okay. And go from there. But yeah, man, it was a true game changer. I was kind of sad because I loved Cargo Noir. Now I want to make it into a shadow box.
So basically, what we've learned from this is that your family wants an auction game. Is really what they want.
They do like auction games. That is true. They do, because Bonanza, they were like too many rules at first, and of course that's trading. It's not really auction, but sort of kind of.
You mean Bohanza?
Bohanza, yeah. Card game. The bean game, as people call it.
Bohanza.
Once they got it, though, they were like, oh, wait, yeah, this is kind of good. I like this. So, yes, they do. They like auction games, and for some reason, crime. I don't know what that says. Because they love the big score, too. We was playing that one right, and they love that one. And that was a suggestion. I was like, well, I guess it's the big score now. I'm like, well, I mean, I don't mind that, but Cargo Noir, no more?
No more? Well, I'm going to say it for you, Larry. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Is it that time?
It is that time, my man. So, Do you have any final thoughts? We've had a great episode. Good talking.
We have.
Yes.
And also, too, it goes without saying, we're in a board game store.
We're in a board game store.
Sitting right on the street. So we got those real cool sounds going in the background.
Yeah, well, I think the sirens were just for, a clue for you to kind of wrap it up. So, well, for the Spoken Token, this is Alex Wallace saying, keep playing.
And I am Larry Neal saying, keep communicating.
This has been the Spoken Token Podcast. If you'd like to interact with us, please contact us through email at thespokentokenpodcast@gmail.com, on Instagram at The Spoken Token Podcast, on Twitter at The Spoken Token, or on Facebook at The Spoken Token Podcast. And you can reach us through our BGG Guild, number 2656.
You are listening to a Pod Studio One Podcast Network podcast. Find more great podcasts at www.podstudio1.com.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome into the big show. I am Larry Neal.
Hey, and I am Alex Wallace. And Larry, we are first and foremost doing this intro again.
Here we go, right into it.